Today, we're going to dive into the incredible comeback story of an industrial giant. But this isn't just about one company's history. Nope. This is a masterclass in how you can turn a struggling business around, make huge strategic pivots, and place some really high-stakes bets on the future. You know, to really get what's going on with CGPOWER, you have to see it through two completely different lenses. In the rearview mirror, you've got its recent past, a stressed asset, really struggling under the weight of its own problems. But then you look at today, and what you see is a nearly debt-free, high-margin industrial powerhouse. So the big question is, how on earth did they pull that off? All right, so the first chapter in this incredible turnaround story really kicks off with new leadership and a massive structural shift. This is where the foundation for everything we're seeing today was built. What's so fascinating here is the timing. I mean, it's just perfect. CGPOWER is in the heavy electrical equipment space, and that sector is absolutely booming right now. Just think about it. You've got massive demand from grid upgrades, this huge push into renewables, and the absolute explosion of data centers. Then you throw in a major government initiative like the India Semiconductor mission, and, well, you've basically got the perfect storm for growth. And right at the heart of this change was the takeover by the Murugappa Group. Now, this wasn't just some financial deal. This is a group that's famous for its operational excellence. They came in and started a fundamental overhaul, changing everything from the company's culture to its core strategy. And that's what turned it from a laggard into a leader. So, did this big transformation actually work? Well, the numbers don't just speak for themselves here. They pretty much shout from the rooftops. Let's dive into the proof. Just look at this number for a second. A return on equity of over 27%. You know, for an industrial company, that is just incredibly high. It's a crystal clear sign of amazing profitability and efficiency. It basically tells you how well they're using shareholder money to make more money. And then there's this, a debt-to-equity ratio of 0.01. I mean, that's about as close to being completely debt-free as you can possibly get. This means the company isn't being held back by loan payments. It's funding its own growth, which gives it a ton of financial flexibility and strength. So when you put all these pieces together, the financials tell a really clear story of super high-quality earnings. This isn't growth that's built on a house of cards, on borrowed money. It's organic. It's being funded by its own profits. And that is exactly the kind of solid foundation you need if you're going to make some big, ambitious moves in the future. And speaking of ambitious moves, let's see where the story goes from here, because CGPOWER is taking all that financial muscle and making a massive, high-stakes bet on a totally new industry. They're jumping headfirst into the world of OSAT. You're probably hearing that acronym and wondering, what is that? Well, OSAT stands for Outsourced Semiconductor Assembly and Test. To put it simply, it's the absolutely crucial final step in making a microchip. It's where you take that delicate silicon wafer, package it up, protect it, and test it to make sure it's ready to go into your phone, your car, or a massive data center. So why is this bet such a big deal? Well, first off, it launches CGPOWER into the super high-value, high-tech world of semiconductors. Second, it perfectly taps into that global China plus one trend where companies are looking to diversify their manufacturing away from China. And third, it lines up perfectly with India's national strategy to become a major semiconductor hub. And this isn't just a plan. They're already building the facility in Sanand. Okay, but this is where the story gets really, really interesting, because you have this incredible turnaround and this super exciting future, and yet the market seems to be having some serious second thoughts. It creates this fascinating clash between short-term price moves and long-term conviction. Let's not sugarcoat it. The company's stock has taken a real beating lately. In fact, momentum indicators are showing it's fallen into what traders call extreme oversold territory. That basically suggests a pretty big price correction has already happened. And you can see it plain as day right here, a drop of almost 11% in the last month alone. Now, for a company that has such a strong fundamental story, that kind of sharp drop, it definitely gets your attention. But that's not the whole picture. Because while the stock price was falling, something else was going on behind the scenes. The so-called smart money, we're talking about the big institutional investors, they were doing the exact opposite. They were buying. The analysis shows they've been looking at this price dip and seeing it as a buying opportunity. And you can see that conviction right here in the numbers. Domestic institutional investors, or DIIs, the big local players like Indian mutual funds and insurance companies, They've upped their stake by over 2.6% in just the last 3 months. Mutual funds also bought more. So while some people are selling, these big players are accumulating. So what does all of this mean for what's coming next? To figure that out, we need a really clear picture of both the opportunities and the risks on the horizon. Let's break down exactly what to keep an eye on. It's like this classic tug of war, right? On one side, you've got these massive opportunities. That new OSAT facility coming online, continued strong global demand for their core products, and other capacity upgrades. But on the other side, you've got some very real threats. The valuation is sky high, with a PE ratio over 90. That means expectations are through the roof. Then you have to worry about volatile raw material prices, and of course, the risk of any delays in pulling off their ambitious semiconductor plant. So, if you're watching this company closely, here are the specific events to circle on your calendar over the next 3 to 6 months. The next big earnings report is obviously huge. But even before that, any updates on the pilot production at the San and OSAT facility could be a major positive trigger. The same goes for the commissioning of new capacity at their Milan port plant. So, at the end of the day, it all boils down to this one central question. CGPOWER is, without a doubt, a fantastic growth story. It's an amazing corporate turnaround. But it comes with a seriously premium price tag. And the dilemma for anyone looking at this company is trying to figure out if all of that incredible future potential is already baked into today's price. What do you think?